All right, we're rocking and rolling. We're into Medical Monday. So, with the holiday season, rapidly approaching, many of the community are going to be traveling, spending time with friends and family, and oftentimes traveling with medications really can seem like a daunting task. I mean, even since we've had Dr. Kristen Watson doing quite a few live Q&As with us, which are all here on our AHTV YouTube channel, uh, I've learned so much. Every single time that she talks, I learn everything from not keeping my medication in the car with the varying temperatures, hot, cold, sunlight, what have you. So there's a lot of things to think about when you're going to travel with meds, even if you're traveling by car or by plane. If you're traveling domestic, if you're traveling international, each country has their own rules and regulations when it comes to traveling with your medication. So let's take a look at this article titled How to Manage Your Medications While You Travel. This was written by Amanda Gardner. And here are some of the ways that you can uh, travel with your medication safely and make sure that it gets with you to your destination and comes back. Okay, so one of the things you can do right off the bat that I always do, and I highly suggest that you do, is carry on your meds. Always take them on your carry on. Do not ever pack them underneath, even if you're going from point A to point B with no like stop in between, right? It doesn't matter. If you're going to Honolulu, if you're going on a 2-hour flight, don't let your medications end up in Timbuktu. And that's, you stand a chance. And I don't care how big the chance is. You don't want that to happen. Now, if you're traveling in the States and for some reason your medication didn't make it with you, rest assured you can get what's called a vacation prescription allotment. Now, all insurance companies cover this. CVS, Walgreens, your local food store, wherever you get your medications, you can go in there and say, I'm on vacation. My medications didn't make it with me. I'm here for X amount of days. Can I have X amount of these prescriptions? And they should give it to you without problems. But excuse me, keep it in your carry-on bag for safety. Um, Easier access in case you needed something while you were on the plane. I mean, men, I understand they're traveling with these man purses. I don't even know what they're called. But women, if you want to put it in your pocketbook, your handbag, that's fine. Um, Actually, any medication bags, from what I understand, medical equipment or medication bags are not typically counted towards the two that you are allowed to carry on. And remember, if you already have a carry-on that's full and you've got your pocketbook and you're with somebody else and they don't have a bag, give them your medication bag. Let them carry it on for you, right? But it's going to have to go through security. Now, traveling in the States, not an issue. Sometimes traveling to another country might be an issue, even with carry-on. So you really want to look at that country's rules and regulations, and we'll get back to that in a minute. All right, check the temperature of where you're going. So on a plane, you want to use a carry-on bag that's going to help protect your medication from sitting out in extreme hot or in extreme cold. So you only know where you're going and you should be able to have a sense of what that plane's going to be like. But extreme colds or extreme heat can actually affect the integrity of your medication. So that's an interesting thought. If you're traveling by car, you never want to leave your medications in the glove compartment, in the center console, really anywhere in the car. Uh, don't even leave it in luggage in the car because some medications have to be refrigerated. And just because it's really cold outside, that does not necessarily equal the temperature that's inside of a refrigerator. Okay. And some liquids might actually freeze in certain temperatures. There's some medications people take by injection. And so you want to keep all of that separate in an insulated, like a lunch bag with the ice packs, those totes, those freezer bags. Okay. So have some consideration to when you're traveling. Um, Again, you don't want to leave it in the car. I would keep all your meds on you. So if you get out, what if the car gets stolen? What if something happens? So definitely don't leave mental health medications. Like if you're taking certain meds and you look, end of the day, keep your meds on you. Just keep them on you. Let TSA know about any liquid medications that you take, anything, whether it's with a syringe or you're just taking it orally. They will allow liquid medications usually over the usual limit, which is 3.4 ounces. But you have to tell the TSA agents before you go through on that conveyor belt, okay? You have to let them know I am carrying medication with me. There's more than 3.4 ounces. And I would personally like to have a copy of that script, but as long as you have identification and it matches your liquid medication, you should be fine. Or if you're traveling with a minor and they need some, and you're the parent, you should be fine as well. But let them know ahead of time. You really don't want them to find it after it's gone through the X-ray. Um, then it becomes problematic, and then they want to search everything, and then you're held up and blah blah blah. So just tell them before you go through. They're really helpful if you just ask ahead of time and let them know. And don't repackage your medication. I know a lot of people like to save the little plastic bottles that our meds come in and just throw all their meds into it as if it's a pill case. The problem is, unless you clean that out really well, you do have residue from the originating medication that's now all over your other meds. So don't do that. Okay. Um, Make your way through customs easily by keeping your pills and your liquid meds in their original containers and with their original labels. This is what I was getting to when we want to talk about other countries. I know traveling to certain countries, they actually want to see the script, but I have not come across a country myself that I've at least been to, whether it was Ireland or Greece or England, that didn't that I didn't feel like I needed to keep it in the original container in case I was asked any questions. So when in doubt, just go that extra mile to ensure that you have everything compliant. Take a copy of your prescription with you if you want to be super uber compliant. If you feel you need to bring a letter from your doctor, you can do that too. That explains your condition. If you are on any medications that require you to inject, or you're on a controlled substance, you really might want to consider having that letter with you. It'll save time and having to explain your condition. Just show the information from the physician. Also, when it comes to needles, you want to be careful that you can bring also a sharps container with you. Not every country offers these, but when you need to dispose of your used needle, at least place them in a sharps container. And a lot of times, most postal services will be able to put that in a box and ship them off if you need to do that as well. But again, letting all TSA agents know that that's how you're traveling. And check the law. Just because your medication is legal in the US, it actually might not be legal in another country, which seems crazy because then what do you do? Well, then you're probably down to asking for something else that is legal and an equivalent. Maybe you can just get a doctor's note, or maybe you might have to not take that trip. I don't know. I haven't been faced with that, but that is something to consider. So look into the legalities of your medications when you are going to travel to another country. Manage your supplies. I have experienced an issue like this, and all I can say is make sure you have enough supplies if you're somebody that needs supplies of any type to get you through your trip, and always bring extra. So I don't know what you do, but I personally like to take in my pill case, my weeks long AM and PM, I double up everything. So I bring a week plus an extra week's worth of pills in case one falls down the sink, in case it falls out and lands on the floor and gets crushed, in case I lose one of the days. Whatever the case may be, I take extra. Now, traveling to another country, I'm bringing all of the original containers with me, so it's a all-in situation. If I lose my carry-on bag, I've lost everything, and that seems like it would be a nightmare trying to begin from scratch. But domestically, I always bring like an extra week's worth because anything can happen and you can't get home when you think you want to. So I've actually had that happen with ostomy supplies. Um, I was on an antibiotic and went through my supplies a lot quicker than I anticipated and was left with none. So luckily, wait, these are not the types of things that you can just go into a pharmacy and say, do you have bag number da 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 da, and a bunch of barrier wipes and all these things that maybe you know what I'm talking about or not. Suffice it to say, you can't just get it from a CVS. They have to be specially ordered from special pharmacies, and then they have to be shipped. So I went to an ER. An ER I know is going to always have supplies because people have these surgeries there. And they were able to give me a couple days supply to at least get me home. So it was a pain. Make sure you carry enough to get you through in case you run into any situations. All right, another useful strategy is to order pills in multi-dose packages. These are typically perforated plastic sealed packages, and they're like little teeny packets. I'm sure some of you have seen them. So instead of bringing the bottles or bringing individual pills in a case, you just bring them in these sealed packets. And it makes it a lot easier to pack in your bag because it lays flat, takes up less room. So that's something for you to to think about. But in case you need a refill in anything while you are away, write down the generic name of your medicine because brand names could be listed differently in different countries. So it's not that you can't get a refill necessarily in a country. I can't guarantee that you will. But if you needed it, at least know the generic, which is widely accepted, versus the brand name. Because sometimes drugs with the same brand name might actually contain different ingredients. So it is not a guaranteed fact that the name of the drug in the United States is going to be the same as it would be in another country. So you want to make sure that you have a generic and a brand name for your medications. Okay. So let's see. Um, Time zones. This is such a pain in the butt. Everybody asks questions about time zones. And this is what I think complicates travel the most when it comes to medication. So you want to stay on the same dose, right? Except if you're going someplace that is, if you're traveling from the East Coast, or rather Eastern Standard Time, and you're going to Central, that's only 1 hour time zone difference. It's really not going to make or break you when it comes to your medication. So if you normally take them at 8 a.m. in the East Coast, and now you've traveled someplace and you're arriving 2 hours later, well, that 10 a.m. is now only 9 a.m. Not a big difference in taking your medications, right? If you didn't take them right away in the morning for whatever reason, that's not going to make or break even coming back in losing an hour. The problem really is when you go from Eastern to Western, right? Or to Pacific, then you're at a 3 hour time zone difference. Or even worse, you're going to go to Hawaii, which is a 6 hour behind time zone difference with Maryland. So let's say you leave at 8 a.m. and for whatever reason you didn't take your meds, you're arriving in Hawaii, which is now 2 a.m. You don't wait 6 more hours to take your medications because you have to remember it's still technically in your body 8 a.m. So before I make all of you confused, talk to your pharmacist and work out a plan. Okay. I like to, as quickly as possible, assimilate to the time zone that I'm in. And sometimes it might mean playing with your medications by an hour or two and adjusting over a day or two. But let your pharmacist help you figure it out. Let them know the time you're leaving and what time should you take it based upon where you arrive, especially if whether you're going back 6 hours or you're going forward 6 hours. It can be very complicated. My head hurts just talking to you about it. So this is something that you might want to work out with your pharmacist. All right. The sun. We know that if there's going to be an interaction with the sun, which happens with doxycycline, certain antibiotic, or when people used to take tetracycline, I'm sure that's what it was called, or prednisone, if you have to take that. These medications, or even a patch on your arm that's metallic on the back end, like a clonidine patch, you could have a problem if you're laying out in the sun because you're going someplace tropical. It could maybe even enhance the strength and the dosing that you're having. It could make you much more sensitive to the rays of the sun. So you have to watch out that you don't get a sunburn. But especially statins. Statins are another one that can make you sun sensitive. So find out ahead of time from your pharmacist, are any of the medications photosensitive? I know you're thinking if it doesn't have it on the label, then it's fine, but you don't want to find out the hard way that it is photosensitive. So just ask before you go on your vacation. Too much heat can also be a problem for these medications, especially with a medication patch, as I just mentioned. So if you're going to go to a warm climate, be aware that the meds that are in the patch might end up being released too quickly. This was one of the things that this is the first time I ever heard this. So, yeah, I never paid attention and I wear a patch. And when I go, basically from May until September, and I'm outside all the time with my sunscreen on, I guess that's probably why my medication's getting released a lot sooner than it does. I don't know. I'm really going to want to pay attention to that. They do actually have patches that cover up the medication patch. They usually come in the box, in the prescription. And maybe that's what they're supposed to be used for. I don't know. I thought they were just there in case you went in the water. And maybe that's true too. But I never used them because they're like gigantic. And I didn't want a big, massive tan line. It looked like a big bullseye on my shoulder. So I throw them away. But now I'm wondering if they serve a much more important role. So I'm going to look into that too. But just be cautious about that too. But when in doubt, For any situation when it comes to travel and your medications, do not necessarily rely solely on what is presented on the bottles, okay? And there's a good chance that you threw away the information attached to the paperwork, attached to the bag when you picked up your medications. So, when in doubt, talk to the pharmacist, find out all the answers to these questions that pertain to you and your medications so that you don't struggle when you're traveling with your meds. And that is our Medical Monday.